My name doesn't really matter anymore. Maybe it never did. What matters is that you're hearing this, that something inside the wires still carries a voice through the dark. You're tuned to what's left of the radio, broadcasting from a place that barely stands, in a world that barely moves. I don't know how far this signal reaches. I don't know who's out there. But if you're listening, then we're not completely alone. Not yet. It's 1:44 in the morning, July 3rd. The heat hasn't broken in days. It's 108 degrees outside and holding steady. No clouds, no wind. Just dead air and this low buzzing sound in the walls. Maybe flies, maybe wires, maybe both. I've got one generator left running and 3 backup car batteries rigged to keep this transmitter alive for as long as they'll give me. I'm about 40 miles south of St. Louis, near an old fire tower and what used to be a ranger station before the whole department got shut down. I've been here for 5 days now, alone, and the nights aren't any better than the days, just darker. There's no more official signal. FEMA's gone quiet. No AA is down. The emergency broadcast system repeats a looping pre-recorded message on 162.550 megahertz. Something about a regional power failure and limited services. But that was last week. The message hasn't updated since June 27th. The cities are silent. The highways are still. The lights don't come back on. And something is feeding on us. I don't say that lightly. I'm not some crank with a ham radio and a stockpile of canned beans warning about the end times. I was, a radio tech. I used to do maintenance for KZTR before the license lapsed and Clear Sky Media bought up the tower and gutted everything but the transmitter shack. I stayed on after they left. I kept the gear alive. I heard the first strange calls come in. I saw the logs pile up. I watched the emergency reports stop making sense. And now I don't know if anyone official is even still out there. If you're hearing this, write this down. I'm transmitting from 99.3 FM. UHF backup is cycling at 4.6, 2.725 megahertz every half hour. I'll repeat updates every 3 hours unless I run out of fuel, or, God help me, unless they find me. Let me tell you what happened. It started quietly. You always think these things begin with sirens and screams, but they don't. They begin with confusion, small outages, a missed weather report, a power flicker. A few local stations start broadcasting static. You figure it's a heat wave thing. You blame solar flares or rolling brownouts or even sabotage. You don't think about what it really is because the truth is always worse than whatever excuse you give yourself to keep feeling normal. June 22nd. That's when I heard the first emergency call. It was picked up on the emergency services band. A woman's voice, panicked, rasping, reporting an attack outside a hospital in Tulsa. She said someone was in the parking garage, ripping through people's throats, moving too fast, and then she cut out mid-sentence. The call wasn't even acknowledged. It just hung there in the queue for hours before the dispatcher flagged it as inconclusive. Same night, another call from Missouri Baptist Hospital in St. Louis. One of the janitors had locked himself in a stairwell. Said someone had broken through a basement wall and dragged 3 patients into the utility tunnel. He said, they weren't human. Their eyes didn't blink. They didn't breathe. They fed like animals but moved like people. Then silence. When the EMTs showed up, they found the stairwell door open. Blood on the handle. No body. No janitor. By June 24th, the panic had started to leak onto the police bands. Reports of missing persons tripled overnight. Local power substations were going down one by one. No explanation. No weather cause. Just darkness. That was the night I lost my first friend. Her name was Rachel. She worked overnights at a small FM station just outside Little Rock. We used to trade logs and signals, compare weather band anomalies, shortwave skips. Smart as hell. Always calm, even during tornado season. She texted me at 3:07 a.m., just 2 words. "They're inside." I tried to call. No answer. I tried to ping her repeater. It was already offline. 2 hours later, Little Rock went completely dark. Not just power, not just radio, everything, as if the city had been unplugged from the rest of the world. I tried to warn people. I used the backup transmitters, put out open burst pings across the Midwest. The responses I got, they weren't denials. They were scared voices asking for help. People barricading themselves in police stations, hospitals, schools. None of them were armed for this. None of them understood what was coming. I don't fully understand it either, but here's what I know. It spreads through blood, not bites, not scratches. Blood. A single drop seems to be enough. Some of the first responders were infected just by treating wounds, and once it gets into you, something takes over. Slowly at first. You get tired. You lose your appetite. You stop sleeping. Your skin pales. You start avoiding sunlight. And then you disappear. Only you don't really disappear, do you? You come back. You knock on doors with a smile and old memories. You ask to be let in. You speak the same, sound the same, even act the same, until someone gets too close. They're organized. That's the part nobody talks about. This isn't a random outbreak. This isn't disease. It's strategy. They disable the power first, then the roads, then the phones. Then they go door to door. If you're in a city right now, I'm sorry. The smaller towns held out longer. Fewer targets, more community ties. But that didn't save them either. In fact, it just slowed the inevitable. They moved like water through cracks. Infected 1, then 2, then a whole church congregation vanishes over a weekend. I have a printed log from a CB broadcast out of Decatur, Illinois, dated June 25th. A man named Brian, last name unknown, described waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of his neighbor's dog screaming, not barking, screaming. Said he went outside and saw something standing over the body, not crouched, standing, tall, wrong-shaped. He ran. 2 hours later, the entire block was silent. No lights, no dogs, no people. June 26th. The National Guard was deployed to Omaha and Oklahoma City. That's when the official messages started. Short, clipped, pre-written. Please remain indoors. Stay hydrated. Do not spread unverified information. Then came the blackouts. Then the fires. I watched from a ridge as Springfield, Missouri went dark. I could see the flames from 50 miles out. No planes, no helicopters, just silence and orange sky. I'm going to pause here. Let the transmitter cool. I'll be back in 10 minutes with the next report. If you're still listening, don't go outside after dark. Don't let anyone in unless you're absolutely sure. And don't trust a familiar face that's too calm in the middle of this. Real fear looks like what I sound like now. I'm back. If this generator gives out, I've got about 5 hours of charge left in the car batteries. After that, well, I guess it's just silence. I've been logging every report that comes through the sideband. A M-skip, CB chatter, shortwave bursts. If there's a voice out there saying something useful, I've written it down. The last real-time weather report I intercepted came from a no AA relay station outside Cheyenne. Air temperature recorded at 4:42 a.m. on June 30th was 112 degrees. The soil is cracking. Asphalt's warping. Power grids weren't built for this kind of heat. Not without people to maintain them. And the people who used to maintain them? Most of them are gone now. Or they're changed. The roads are a nightmare. I took a drive 2 days ago. First time I left the tower in 3 days. The gas station 8 miles out was torn open. Not just looted, ripped apart. Glass in every direction. No fuel. No bodies either. Just this smell. Like wet copper and ash. There's a church next to the highway. One of those white steeple buildings that used to ring their bell on Sundays. That bell's still ringing. Non-stop. No one visible. No cars. Just the bell swinging by itself in this dead, boiling wind. I didn't stop. I saw movement in the tree line near there. I saw a shape. Human height. Human gait. But it didn't blink. And it didn't look away when I passed. There's something in the way they move. Like they remember how to be people, but the muscle memory isn't perfect anymore. Like they're trying to rehearse us. Okay, I'm gonna read a call transcript. This came from someone named Tanya in Greenville, Mississippi. I caught her on Channel 3. Tanya said, "They're using the sewers now. I know it sounds crazy, but my brother's on the water crew. He saw the manhole covers rattling 2 days ago. Thought it was heat expansion. Then one of the covers blew off, shot 10 feet in the air. He looked down and saw people. Not rats, not gas pipes. People. Crawling on the walls, eyes like glass, skin like plastic stretched over bone." She said that was the last time she saw her brother. That was 5 days ago. Greenville is off the air now. The military's been mostly silent. I picked up a scrambled band once on 33.50 megahertz. Sounded like encrypted troop comms. I think it was a forward operating team near Kansas City. One line came through clear. Target Alpha has cognitive retention. Do not engage verbally. Fire on sight. That line stuck with me. Cognitive retention. That means the infected can still think, still speak, still reason. But they're not us anymore. There's something using our faces like clothes. Someone called in earlier from Helena, Montana. Said they'd holed up inside an old fallout shelter. The man was quiet, slow speaking. Said his name was Carl. He told me, "They're harvesting, not just feeding. They're taking the ones who don't fight. I saw it. They carry them. Gentle almost, like family. And the ones they keep, they don't scream." His voice broke after that. I haven't heard from him since. There's a woman, Maya, in upstate New York, maybe near Utica. She's been transmitting once a day on her own frequency, 95.7 FM. Her last message was 3 minutes long. It was just her reading names. Not hers. Just names. One after another. Maybe people she lost. Maybe people she's trying to remember. I don't know. But her voice was shaking like she was saying goodbye to each one. I write them down when I hear her. I don't know why. Maybe it matters. Maybe remembering does something. The old science station in El Paso, WX12, went off the air last Friday. Their last broadcast was a voice reading coordinates and temperature data. Then this strange phrase, "Secondary awakening triggered by chain host events." Over and over. Then silence. I've been reading everything I can. Notes, downloads. I have a small pile of papers from a biochemist who used to work with the CDC. Her name was Dr. Alicia Penn. She gave me these files a week before the shutdown. One paragraph still gives me chills. She wrote, "Pathogen shows neurological integration within host after systemic saturation of approximately 72 hours. Behavior is driven not by hunger alone, but by a parasitic override of limbic responses. Host memories are retained. Empathy is selectively suppressed. Intelligence remains high." Selective empathy. That explains why they don't kill everyone. Why some are converted. Dr. Penn disappeared on June 29th. Her car was found near a roadside motel in New Mexico. Blood inside. No body. There's this theory running through all the logs I've collected. This isn't a plague. Not really. It's not some virus that leaked from a lab or mutated in a jungle. It's old. Older than cities. Older than memory. And it wasn't just awakened. It was invited. One of the weirdest files I got was from an old ham operator in Kentucky. He called it the pact theory. Said certain military labs had been studying blood-borne parasitic phenomena since the 70s. Said Fort Detrick had sealed entire floors back in the day. Said this wasn't containment. It was release. I didn't believe him at first. Now I'm not so sure. The infected aren't starving. They're organizing. They're communicating without speaking. They're taking control of power junctions, transport hubs, and water systems. They know where to strike. They know what to say. And sometimes they don't attack. Sometimes they offer you a way out, a way to join. They offered it to me. I'll talk about that next. Battery holding steady. Signals clean. I'll stay on air until something stops me. Keep your radios on. More soon. 3 nights ago, just after 2 a.m., someone knocked on the door of the transmitter shed. I've been broadcasting from here for about 5 days now. Nobody comes out this far. You'd have to hike 2 miles off-road or know exactly where the old fire access trail splits. There are signs posted everywhere. Danger. No trespassing. Radioactive materials. It's a bluff, but it keeps people out. Used to, anyway. The knock was soft. Too soft. Like someone wasn't trying to alert me, just trying to see if I'd come closer. I cut the lights, grabbed the crowbar, and waited by the hatch. Then I heard the voice. It said my name. Not hey or anyone there. Not help. It said my actual name, the way my sister used to say it. Voice calm, like someone I'd known all my life had just dropped by for a midnight visit. Only thing is, I haven't told anyone out loud where I am, and my sister's been gone since June 26th. Last I heard, she was still in Kansas City. I caught a voicemail from her right before the towers went down. She was hiding in a stairwell, whispering something about the power grid being cut from inside. Then nothing. But that voice outside the shed sounded just like her. Almost. The rhythm was wrong. Like it had practiced the syllables too much. Too careful. No warmth. I stayed still for 6 hours after that. Didn't sleep. Didn't move. The footsteps outside never retreated. They just stopped. That's what you need to know. These things, they remember us. They can mimic. Not just the way we look or sound, but the little things too. The inside jokes. The way your dad clears his throat. The song your mom hummed when she did dishes. I don't know how. I don't want to know. I just know it's how they get in. So if someone you love shows up at your door right now, wait. Watch. Ask them something only they would know. And even then, be careful. I've got a few more survivor messages to share. Got these on the shortwave relay from a rig near Boise. Signal was weak, but the voices came through. The first is from a kid. I think he said his name was Thomas. Maybe 12, maybe 14. He sounded tired, real dry-mouthed. Said, "We're hiding in the school basement, the one with the blue lockers. Me and my little sister. We tried to find food at the 7-Eleven, but the windows were smashed and there were claw marks on the walls. I think they were waiting inside. We ran. I saw one of them look at me and smile like it knew my name." Then the signal cut out. The second was a woman named Clarice, somewhere near Flagstaff. She said, "They burned my neighbor's house. Not the infected, the neighbors. They were trying to stop it from spreading. Said the youngest boy got cut during a scuffle. He didn't even show symptoms yet, but they burned it anyway. No one talked. Just watched it burn. That's who we are now." Her voice didn't shake. It was flat, like she'd accepted it. That's another thing nobody warned us about. How fast morality burns when the lights go out and something inhuman starts wearing your neighbor's face. It's not just the heat killing people. It's the choices. I've been keeping a survival list. I'll read it in a second, but let me say this first. Don't assume help is coming. Nobody's coming. If someone's in uniform and shows up without a vehicle, without a heat rash, without a sunburn, run. If they're clean in this heat, they're not human anymore. Now, the list. If you're writing this down, mark it with today's date, July 3rd. Water. As much as you can store. Boil it if it tastes off. Food. Anything canned, anything dry, nothing fresh after dusk. Salt. I don't know why, but there's chatter about salt in some of the older logs, like it keeps them out or slows the infection. No proof, just patterns. Mirrors. They avoid them, or they don't cast anything back. Still gathering reports on that. UV lights. Mixed results. One ham operator in Ohio said it works. Scared one off with a black light from a bug zapper rig. Another said it just made them angrier. No open doors, no second chances, no exceptions. If someone gets bit, gets cut, gets infected, make peace, fast, and keep a radio nearby. Even if I go dark, there might be someone else out there. Speaking of which, I picked up something weird on 27.1 megahertz. Shortwave burst. Lasted maybe 18 seconds. Male voice. Accent I couldn't place. Sounded like he was speaking English, but off somehow. Like the words were run through a filter of something older. I wrote it down phonetically. Brood converging. Daylight collapses. The blood remembers. That last part's been scratching at the back of my brain. The blood remembers. I've seen that phrase before. Once. It was written on the margin of a scanned government memo I intercepted last year from a private intelligence relay in Montreal. The memo was about immunology, parasites, bloodline-specific resistance. What if some of us can't be turned? What if they're looking for the ones who can resist them? That might be why they're still hunting me. I've got a scar on my left forearm from an old blood draw. My mom was a biologist. She always said I had weird markers. I never asked what she meant. Maybe I should have. Anyway, the transmitter's running warm again. I need to cut power for a bit. If you're still listening, stay put. Stay cool. Stay out of sight. And if someone you love comes back from the dark, don't let them in, no matter how much they remember. I'm back on. Barely. The generator shut down for a full 30 minutes. Thought that was it. Thought I'd be talking to dead air for the rest of my life, just mumbling to myself in the dark. But it kicked back on. Weak, but alive. Maybe like us. It's after 3 a.m. now, still 101 degrees out. The wind smells like burnt plastic and dry rot. No birds, no bugs, just this weird hum in the distance, like an engine running underground. I don't know what it is. I don't want to find out. Earlier, I saw smoke on the horizon. West side. Looked like a suburb burning. No sirens, no fire engines. Just the red glow bleeding into the clouds. The highways are still frozen. Cars locked in place like a photograph someone forgot to finish. Windows shattered. Some of the doors left open like people tried to get out and just vanished mid-step. I drove past an old blue Honda Accord on the overpass. There was still a cell phone on the passenger seat, screen cracked, blinking like it was trying to send something it couldn't say. This world feels paused, like something hit the brakes on humanity and left us hovering between then and never. Let me tell you what happened in Cincinnati. I picked it up off a ham relay out of Dayton, maybe 2 days old. Voice was male, mid-40s. He didn't say his name. He said, "They came from the river. Not a wave, not a rush, a trickle. 3 at first, then 8, then 15. People with no pulse who walked like they were born underwater. Police tried to stop them. Tasers did nothing. Bullets slowed them, but didn't stop them. One officer said he emptied a full clip into the chest of a woman who kept walking forward, like she didn't even know she'd been shot. Said her eyes bled, but her hands kept reaching. By nightfall, the whole riverfront was gone. The man on the radio said he watched his neighbor's dog lick blood off the sidewalk and then fall still, like it had tasted something too heavy for a small heart to carry. He said the worst part wasn't the blood or the silence. It was the music. Someone started playing violin in the middle of it. Real slow, real sad. Not a recording. Live. No one ever found the player. I don't know if that's true. Maybe the man was going crazy. Maybe we all are. But it doesn't sound crazier than what I've seen. Here's something else. A woman called in from outside Reno. Her name was Shelby. She was hiding in a hunting cabin near Pyramid Lake. She said, "I keep hearing them whisper my daughter's name. Over and over. She's 4. We've been living on jerky and creek water for days. We don't even say her name out loud anymore. But somehow they know. I heard it in the trees. Then I heard it inside the cabin. We never let anyone in. But last night, the front door was unlocked." She didn't say what happened next. The signal just stopped. I don't know if I'll hear from her again. That's the part that breaks me, more than the screams or the violence. It's the cutoffs, the voices that vanish in the middle of a sentence, the lives that disappear between one word and the next. You never get the full story, just the start and the end. We weren't ready for this, not because it came fast, but because it came familiar. It didn't knock down the walls. It walked through the door, using our names and faces and favorite lullabies. It called us by the parts of ourselves we didn't think anyone remembered. And we let it in. There's a silence out there right now, under the heat and the static, that feels too wide to explain. Not peaceful, not empty, just watching. Like the world's holding its breath and waiting for us to either adapt or die. Let me give you something useful, something to survive by. If you're holed up somewhere without power, try this. Use mirrors to cover windows, but only from the inside. Don't give them a full reflection of the room. Keep water in opaque containers. Reports suggest they avoid metal cans. Maybe the trace minerals affect something biological in them. Don't talk near drains, vents, or mail slots. I don't know how they hear us, but they do. If your battery-operated radio starts picking up voices between stations, don't answer. Don't respond. Just listen. If it repeats something you thought but didn't say, turn it off. Now, here's something I haven't told anyone yet. I got a letter, not a text, not a voicemail, a real letter. Handwritten. Left in a manila envelope outside the old transmitter door 3 nights ago. It was folded twice, tucked inside an evidence bag like something out of a police archive. The handwriting was my mother's. She's been dead for 6 years. I'll read it to you. Not now. I need to sit with it longer. Try to understand if it's real or just one more trick meant to crack me open. But I'll tell you this much. The envelope was sealed with wax, and pressed into the wax was a symbol I've only seen once before, on the inside panel of a portable morgue container used by the army in Kosovo. A sun with teeth. Yeah, you heard that right. I'm gonna rest, eat a little, conserve what I can. If the signal holds, I'll be back before sunrise. Stay sharp, stay dark, and above all, stay human. It's 5:18 a.m. The sky's starting to turn. Not light, just less black. A kind of bruised orange crawling up from behind the hills. There's no birdsong, no hum of power lines, just the wind brushing against the trees like it's scared to wake something. The generator's holding at 42%. I've switched all the lights to red filters and cut air conditioning to save wattage. It's already 95 degrees inside, and I've been drinking water so warm it tastes like pennies, but it's still water, still something. I told you about the letter. I lied a little. I did read it. It was short, only 3 lines. Your blood is resistant. You always were. They knew that. I tried to hide you. Go back to the Red Tower. They won't follow you there. No signature, just her handwriting. Same slanted way she used to write grocery lists. The ink smelled faintly of salt and smoke. I haven't gone back yet. I think I know what she means by the Red Tower. It's a relay station up north. Old, decommissioned in '97. Used to bounce military comms across the Great Plains. I've never been inside, but I've seen the schematics. Reinforced steel walls, geothermal power backup, and, this is the part that matters, it sits on top of a natural salt dome. Some people say salt keeps them out. That's never been proven. But the patterns are there. Places built near salt domes have fewer incidents, and when they are attacked, the infected don't linger. They take what they can and leave. Maybe it's superstition. Or maybe the old stories were telling the truth in a language science forgot how to speak. I want to share something from a broadcast I picked up yesterday morning. Shortwave skip out of northern Alberta. Voice was female. French-Canadian accent. Said her name was Colette. She was hiding in an old mine shaft with her father and 2 sons. She said, "They don't speak, not unless they have to, but they listen, and when you cry, they come." My youngest asked why we weren't lighting candles anymore. I told him because the dark is safer than the flicker. We live now by echoes and breath. She said something else, about her husband. He came back different. He smiled the same, laughed the same. But when I kissed him, there was nothing behind it, just cold lips and a rhythm too calm for this world. She ended her message with a lullaby. French. Her voice cracked halfway through, but she finished it. I keep playing that back. There's something haunting about how people still hold on to songs. Even when everything else is dust, they still hum. I'm going to read from another transcript. This one came through from a kid named Mateo, somewhere in El Paso. He sounded young, maybe 16. He said, "My school turned into a shelter. We had teachers, parents, even 2 local cops. Everyone tried to help. But then one night the lights stayed off. We heard something in the cafeteria, like metal trays dragging. Mr. Kaplan went to check. He didn't come back. Then we saw his shadow walk out, and he wasn't alone. He wasn't even limping anymore. They got Ms. Geller. She tried to scream, but it sounded like she was underwater." Mateo said he escaped through the boiler room. He'd been living in a locked janitor closet for 4 days. The last thing he said was, "If you hear your name whispered in a voice you love, don't answer." That's the 3rd report I've gotten about whispering. And not random whispering, names, specific names, spoken like secrets. I don't know how they know. Maybe it's something to do with memory. Maybe when they turn, they keep a map of what you love inside their heads, and they use it to dig into you. I don't have answers. I just have patterns. Okay. Quick field notes. If you're still alive, write this down. Heat won't stop them. They move at night, but the temperature doesn't seem to slow their bodies. This isn't a virus that burns out in the sun. It's a biology we don't understand. Animals can sense them before humans can. If your dog growls at the dark, believe it. If your cat hisses at the wall, listen. Radio interference often spikes right before an attack. Static builds. Frequencies jump. The air goes weird. The infected aren't just fast, they're coordinated. They travel in patterns, triangle formations. They cover blind spots like trained units. They don't scavenge like we do. They don't loot stores or hoard. They take people and leave buildings intact. That means this isn't about resources. This is about us. I've been reading through old government white papers, stuff I scraped from dark archives before the grid fell. There was one buried in a series of declassified 1972 defense memos. Just one paragraph stood out. Subjects exhibiting post-necrotic locomotion retained emotional mimicry, but displayed targeted predatory behavior when isolated from group environments. Agents recommend immediate termination upon detection. Do not engage diplomatically. They've seen this before. Or something like it. I'm going to leave you with a call I got just an hour ago. Man's voice, from Amarillo. He didn't say much. Just this. "I saw my daughter walking down the middle of the road. She's been dead 7 days. She waved at me, and I waved back." Then silence. "If you're still listening, I'll be on the air again after sunup. I'll try to boost signal eastward. Maybe reach the Carolinas. Until then, rest if you can. Watch the shadows. And if the dead speak your name, let the silence answer for you." The sun's up now. Doesn't mean anything. It just means you can see how dead everything really is. It's 7:12 a.m. The sky looks like boiling metal. There's this red haze over the treetops. Might be smoke, might be dust, might be both. Temperature inside the shack's already back up to 103. I'm sweating so much it feels like I've been bleeding from my pores. Still no planes. Still no birds. Still no people. Just the distant sound of something shifting out there, too far to see, too close to forget. I've been thinking about that voice in Amarillo. The man who waved back at his daughter. Maybe that's what's left of humanity now, knowing when not to run, not to scream, just recognizing the end and nodding to it like an old friend on the porch. I want to read you something that came in from a transmitter in Duluth. It's a letter. I don't know who sent it. It was broadcast as text to voice on loop before the station went offline. Here's what it said. We were 22 people at first, 10 adults, 12 kids. We made it out of the city in a bus with no fuel gauge and a broken back door. Found an old greenhouse near the edge of a lake. Figured we'd plant something, grow, rebuild. First week was okay. Second week, someone got scratched during a supply run. Didn't tell anyone. Third week, he started talking in his sleep with someone else's voice. Then he vanished. So did 2 of the kids. We found the footprints. Barefoot. No shoes. But the tracks were perfect, like he'd never lost balance once. He walked straight into the water and never came back. That was all the message said. People keep trying to grow something in the middle of this. I don't know whether that's brave or blind. Maybe both. Maybe that's the only thing that makes us different. We plant. We bury things hoping something better comes up. But nothing's growing in this heat. And the only thing that's rising is them. Another call came in last night from Fresno. Man named Daryl. He sounded broken. Not scared. Not angry. Just worn thin. Like the world had rubbed off all his edges. He said, "We tried garlic. We tried silver. We tried crosses. None of it stopped them. But you know what slowed them down? Pain. Not theirs. Ours. They backed off when my brother started screaming like he was on fire. I think they feed on fear, but pain confuses them, like they don't understand it, like they've forgotten what it means to hurt. That stuck with me. The idea that they forgot how to feel pain, or maybe gave it up. What kind of deal do you have to make to get rid of pain? And what do you lose when you do? I want to tell you something that happened here. Not last night. 2 nights ago. I fell asleep. Just for a few minutes, I swear. I'd wedged the door shut, locked the hatch, set up mirrors and salt around the perimeter like some kind of medieval cartoon. I closed my eyes. When I woke up, someone had left a Polaroid on the transmitter desk. It was a photo of me, sleeping, from maybe 6 inches away. I don't have a camera in here, and I sure as hell don't sleep that soundly. That's how close they are. Not just physically, but mentally, psychologically. They're watching us sleep, watching us broadcast. They know what matters to us, and they use it. They don't just feed, they study. I'm not afraid of dying. Not anymore. I'm afraid of forgetting what made me human before they get the chance to change it. Okay, more updates. I heard from a woman named Lana in Milwaukee. She's been hiding in a cold storage facility, one of those old meat-packing warehouses by the rail yard. Said the infected don't like cold. Said they avoid it, even when the lights are on. She's been storing supplies in old walk-in freezers and using dry ice to drop the ambient temperature of her shelter. She's calling it the fridge. Said she's got 14 people with her, all uninfected, all armed, all terrified. She said they lost a man 2 nights ago. He went outside to get some air. He came back smiling, but something in his eyes was off. He remembered things he shouldn't have, conversations he was never part of. And when she asked him who he'd spoken to out there, he said, "Myself." They didn't let him back in. That's the kind of choice people are making now, the kind that leaves you numb. I picked up a garbled transmission from Colorado Springs, a shortwave skip from someone claiming to be military. Couldn't verify the credentials. Said his name was Tomar, not a rank, not a last name, just Tomar. He said the following: "There's a protocol buried under NORAD contingency plans called Red Casket. It activates if the chain of command is compromised by non-human cognitive threats. If that order's been given, there's no backup coming. No evacuation, no restoration. Just burn and bury." Then he laughed. Not like a madman, like someone who knows the end and is relieved he doesn't have to pretend anymore. "I've got more coming. Keep listening. Even if the power fades, even if the world flickers, let your radio keep whispering. You might hear someone else breathing in the dark. I'll be back." It's just past 9 a.m. Outside, everything looks still, but it's not. The stillness isn't peace. It's pressure, like a rubber band pulled too tight, like the air itself is bracing for something. Temperatures climbing fast. Already 109. I'm watching the metal on the window frame curl inward, not melt, curl, like it's breathing wrong. I just got a signal burst on the emergency band. Short, damaged, mostly static. But the last second was clear. A woman's voice. She said, "They've learned how to mimic the emergency tones." Let me say that again. They've learned how to mimic the emergency tones. Think about what that means. We've all been conditioned, since we were kids, to trust those sounds. That shriek at 2 a.m. during a test. That beeping when a hurricane's coming. That calm, flat, robotic voice telling you the county is under curfew. They're using it now, using our instincts against us. So if you hear a broadcast that starts with the EAS tone, wait. If the voice that follows sounds too calm, too perfect, too clean, it's not real. Real people don't sound like they're reading from a script when they're watching their street disappear. I got a live call 10 minutes ago. Man named Grant from outside Baton Rouge. He was holed up in an old radio van from his college days. Said he'd been using it to scan repeaters across the state. He told me, "They're triangulating now, using our pings to find the relays. I watched them move in on a repeater tower northeast of here. 3 of them. Just walked up and pulled the battery out. No force. No rush. Like they knew exactly what to do." Grant said he was moving further south, toward swamp territory. Said they don't like water, not the kind you can't see through. Said maybe it confuses their senses, or maybe they just don't want to get their clothes wet. He laughed after that. That kind of laugh you hear when someone's too tired to cry. I hope he made it. A woman from Boise sent a voice packet 3 hours ago. Her name was Janine. She said, "We're living in a warehouse on the edge of town. Used to belong to a costume supplier. Rows and rows of mannequins. We moved them near the windows so anyone watching from outside can't tell who's real. We rotate them at random. Give them weapons, hats, names. It's working. We've seen them hesitate." That's what adaptation looks like now. Not fighting, not escaping. Just confusing the enemy long enough to survive the next hour. If you're in a small town, you've got a better shot. But don't mistake silence for safety. The infected don't always hit hard. Sometimes they wait. Watch. Let your guard drop. I want to talk about the trains. They've stopped, but not everywhere. There's been chatter about freight routes still running between key hubs. Chicago to Denver, San Antonio to Flagstaff, Sacramento to somewhere east of Reno. Nobody knows who's operating them. No engineers, no lights, no whistles. Just motion. And every time someone investigates, they disappear. I've got 4 separate reports now. One from a man in Albuquerque, one from a couple outside Indianapolis, 2 more from Oregon. All said the same thing. They followed the sound of a train past midnight. No cars, just the engine. No windows, no tracks lit. The train didn't stop, didn't slow. But when it passed, there was no wind, no sound, no heat. Just this hollow echo like the air had forgotten how to be air. Some people say the trains are moving the infected. Others say they're hauling blood. I don't know, but I do know this. Don't try to board them. Don't get close. They're not taking passengers. One more update. There's a growing cluster of survivors near Dulce, New Mexico. That's not a place you hear about often, but if you know, you know. It's built into a mesa, old military architecture, deep, cold, narrow corridors, perfect for surviving a siege. The voice I heard didn't give a name, just coordinates. And this message, we're calling it the Lattice. We've got backup power, low oxygen rooms, and salt-lined entries. We only take people after a full blackout quarantine and a blood test. If you're immune, we need you. If you're infected, you won't make it past the second door. If you're human and hearing this, memorize this frequency, 441.2 megahertz. We're not here to save the world. We're here to outlive it. That's all they said. I'm going to try to contact them later tonight. Not to join. I don't think I'd make it that far. I just want to know someone out there has a plan that doesn't end with bleeding out in a parking lot while something that looks like your sister smiles down at you. That's the transmission for now. If you've got something real to say, something you need heard, broadcast it on the open band. I'm still listening. Keep cool. Keep closed. Keep counting the hours. We survive 1 hour at a time. It's 10:41 a.m. The light's different now, harsher, like it's not sunlight anymore, just radiation in disguise. Everything's bleached out. Colors don't feel real. The trees look like shadows pretending to be trees. I stepped outside a few minutes ago. Not far. Just the edge of the gravel, where the rusted satellite dish points at nothing. There was a rabbit out there, or something that used to be a rabbit. It wasn't moving right. Its back legs didn't bend. It stood on them anyway. Just watched me. No blinking. Ears stiff like dried paper. And then it opened its mouth and something hissed out. Soft, like a whisper. But the sound didn't match the shape. I went back inside. It didn't follow. But I haven't seen it leave either. You ever get that feeling someone's writing a story around you, and you're the only one who didn't read the script? That's how I feel right now. I want to read something. Got this off a long-wave rebroadcast out of Maine. Came from a ham operator calling himself Finch. Sounded like a teacher, or a preacher. Calm, clear. Here's what he said. It's not the end of the world. Not yet. It's worse than that. It's the world forgetting how to be itself. Like a dream waking up in reverse. We always thought the monsters would look like monsters, but what we got were echoes. Faces we trusted. Voices we loved. What happens when the apocalypse wears your mother's perfume and calls you by your nickname? Then he paused and said, My wife came home yesterday. She's been dead 12 days. She brought me soup. And the transmission cut. There's this ache that's been building behind my eyes. It's not a headache. It's like my skull's trying to tell me something I don't want to hear. I haven't been sleeping much. When I do, I dream about doors. Endless rows of them. all locked, all identical, and behind each one, someone I used to love says my name in a voice just slightly wrong. One of them sounds like my old math teacher. Another one sounds like the girl I kissed under the bleachers when I was 16. The dreams don't end. They just get quiet. And then I wake up gasping, like I forgot how to breathe. Let's get practical for a second. New survival notes coming in from the southern perimeter. Mirrors not only confuse them, they reflect something they don't want to see. If you're barricading, angle mirrors at entry points. Don't break them. Don't move them once placed. Some survivors say you can catch a glimpse of what they really are if the reflection warps. I haven't tested that. Salt continues to show promise, not just for blocking, but for slowing. Reports from multiple zones suggest a ring of thick rock salt around shelter perimeters buys time. Don't rely on it alone, but if you've got nothing else, it's better than praying. Blood tests matter. If you don't have a microscope, check for rapid clotting and abnormal heat response. Blood that resists coagulation under heat seems to be more susceptible. That's a bad sign. Some survivors are calling them the quiet. I've heard other names: whisperers, the hollowed, nightborn. But quiet fits, because that's how they come. No stomping, no screams, just stillness, and breath on the back of your neck when no one's behind you. Okay. Updates from the map. Seattle's gone. No official word, but I picked up a pre-recorded EAS override from Tacoma last night. One line repeated 4 times. Evacuation attempt failed. All containment lost. Do not approach. Same message looped for 47 minutes before the station went dead. Atlanta's still flickering. Someone's rebroadcasting low-power AM signals with old jazz records. No voice, no message, just Billie Holiday, playing on repeat between power fluctuations. Makes you wonder who they're playing it for. San Diego was holding out, but now I'm getting conflicting reports. Fires in the gas lamp. Gunfire near the naval base. Some say they're trying to burn them out. Others say the infected are using the smoke as cover. And something strange from Alaska. A voice came through at 6:03 a.m. from near Barrow. Female. Old. She said, "They came from the ice, not born, preserved, buried under the wind. The government knew. That's why the drilling stopped. That's why the land was marked off. This was never a disease. This was an awakening." Then she laughed. Not bitter. Not scared. Just tired. Like she'd been waiting for it her whole life. I don't know what to believe anymore, but I believe her. I'm signing off for a little while, going to conserve power until dusk. If you're still out there, keep listening, keep transmitting, keep breathing, even if it's hard, especially then. It's 1:27 in the afternoon, temperatures at 115. Humidity's gone. Skin cracks if you touch metal too long. The kind of heat that cooks memory right out of you. I've got a damp shirt over my head and the fan running at half power just to keep the wires from melting. The rabbit's gone. No tracks. No blood. Just a single print where it had stood. And in the middle of that print, one drop of blood. Still wet. I don't want to think about how long it had been there. Some people say this is biblical. Plague of blood, fire, silence. But if this is judgment, the judge has forgotten what mercy even looks like. Let me give you something real, tangible. A set of coordinates and a warning. I intercepted a military drone ping 4 hours ago. The kind that normally doesn't hit civilian bands. But someone rerouted it, Maybe on purpose, maybe not. It broadcast for 15 seconds before self-wiping. The message was, "Containment failed at Site Echo 9. All vectors breached. Non-civilian entities in control. Do not recover assets." I traced the ping to a cluster of buildings northwest of Lubbock, Texas. I used to know a guy from that region. Said there was a black site built under an old agricultural university, mostly buried in sand and budget cuts. They tested things there: radiation resistance, blood oxygenation under extreme pressure, animal physiology. Weird stuff. You don't call something Echo 9 unless it's deep enough that nobody was supposed to hear it. There are 3 things I think might have happened there. They found something under the soil and brought it inside. They were growing something they lost control of. They didn't lose control at all. They let it out. All of them end the same way. I heard from someone outside Tulsa. Young voice, kid named Jaime. Said he was hiding inside a vending machine warehouse. Told me, they're not afraid of fire, but they hate rhythm. My uncle used to play drums for a jazz group. He tapped his sticks against the wall last night. Fast, wild, not a beat, more like chaos. And the one at the window backed away like it was listening to something it couldn't follow. I don't know if that's true. Maybe they're wired to track patterns, and random noise scrambles them. I'm not testing it. But if you've got time, maybe try a little chaos. Just be ready for what hears it. Got another relay from West Virginia. A man living in a mine shaft said, "The deeper I go, the less I dream. I think whatever this thing is, it rides the upper layers of sleep. Keeps people floating in half states so it can talk to them. In the dark, where there's pressure, I sleep like the dead. And when I wake up, I feel clean, like nothing touched me." Weird, but it lines up with some other reports. People feeling more in control underground, less watched. Maybe it's radiation shielding, maybe it's psychological, or maybe they don't like what they can't see. Transmission from someone in Spokane. I thought my husband had made it. He showed up last night, knocking like it was a normal Tuesday. I opened the door. I hugged him. He whispered my name and held my face and said he was sorry for everything. Then he told me I had to leave my light on while I slept. She paused there. He always hated sleeping with the lights on. Always. So she closed the door, locked it, and didn't look back. That's the hardest part, I think. Knowing when love turns into something wearing your favorite memories. When grief becomes bait. Here's something I've only told myself. I had a dream last night that I was broadcasting into an empty world. Not post-apocalyptic. Just quiet. No pain. No infected. No burning cities. Just silence. And in the dream, someone tapped on the glass behind me. I turned around, and there I was. Not me as I am. Me when I was 17. Smiling. Whole. Unhurt. He didn't say anything. Just stared like he was waiting for me to open the door. I didn't. But I've been thinking about it ever since. I'm going to rest now. Just for an hour. Try to keep cool. Try to hold on to whatever's left of today. If you're out there, I'll be back on air by sunset. Keep your mirrors clean, your exits sealed, and whatever else you lose, don't lose your name. It's 6:09 p.m. The heat hasn't dropped, not even a degree. The sun's lower, but the air still feels like it's pressing into my skin. I put wet towels under the door cracks. Not sure it helps. Everything smells like ozone and dry copper, like something broke in the sky and started leaking into the world. I slept for 20 minutes, maybe less, long enough to dream. I wish I hadn't. I heard my own voice calling from the tree line. It said, "Come out. The worst is over." But it wasn't me. It was too calm, too level, no edge, nowhere. Whatever these things are, they're not just wearing bodies, they're learning voices, pacing, emotion. They're learning how to sound tired, how to sound scared, how to sound real. That's what terrifies me most. Not that they kill, that they convince. I want to give you a broadcast that came in from outside Omaha. Woman named Riley. She said, "We locked ourselves in the church. First it was just us, me, 2 friends, some neighbors. Then more came. Survivors from the shelter downtown, a family from the bus station. We had 22 people total. Then one morning, the back door was open. Nobody knew who unlocked it. Nobody confessed. We posted a watch. That night, we lost power. And in the dark, someone started singing. Not words, just a tune. A lullaby, I think, from the nursery. We followed it with flashlights. We never found the source. But by morning, 4 people were gone." Then she said, "We don't sing anymore." I'm not even sure I'm still human the way I used to be. I haven't touched another person in days, haven't laughed, haven't cried, haven't spoken to anyone without a wall of static between us. I think if someone hugged me right now, I'd break. But I'm still here. That has to count for something. Got a faint signal from Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Someone's rebroadcasting old school radio dramas. The Shadow, War of the Worlds, stuff like that. I think they're doing it to keep themselves company, letting ghosts tell stories so the silence doesn't win. I caught a piece of an interview, must have been years old. Some scientist talking about parasites that alter host behavior. Ants climbing grass to get eaten. Rats losing fear of cats. Nature turning survival into suicide for the sake of a worm. Sounded a lot like what we're seeing now. Except it's not rats this time. It's us. Got a CB call from a woman named Corinne, near Helena. She sounded like she was shaking even though her voice didn't crack. You can hear that kind of shake. She said, "I saw my brother. On the hill. He waved. I wanted to believe it was him, but he had the wrong shirt. My brother was buried in his red flannel. This one wore black. And when I looked through the binoculars, I saw he wasn't breathing. He was just standing, like a painting that forgot how to fade." That's the thing. They make mistakes. Not big ones, just small ones. Wrong hand gestures. Blinking too slowly. Breathing too shallow. Clothing that doesn't match the memory. If you're paying attention, you can spot them. If you want to. Some people don't. Some people open the door because the lie hurts less than the truth. I don't blame them. I just can't afford to be one of them. I'm watching the woods again. Still no sign of movement. But that means nothing. They move between the seconds, between blinks. They're patient. I think they know how much power silence has, how it breaks us faster than fear. That's why I talk, even if no one's listening, even if the signal dies and my words bounce off empty towers. Talking is resistance. Let me tell you something that helped me once. A janitor in the building I used to work in, old man, barely spoke. He used to leave notes on the bathroom mirror. Not advice, just facts. One time it said, "You don't need to win, you just need to not quit." I think about that a lot now. We're not going to win this. Not the way we used to define winning. But we can outlast. We can wear down the night until something like morning comes back. So keep going. Even when your voice shakes. Even when you're scared. Even when you're alone. Especially then. I'll be back after sundown. If I'm not, you'll know what happened. But until then, this signal still breathes. And if you're listening, so do you. It's 9:03 p.m. The last light's gone. Not that it helps. They move better in the dark, but they watch during the day too. Night's just when they stop pretending. I've turned off everything but the red light. You ever sit in a room lit only by red? It doesn't feel like light. It feels like memory, like the end of a fire you can't remember starting. I got another letter. No, not a voice, not a call. A letter, slipped under the door like the first one. No footsteps, no sound, just there. It said, "You're immune, but that doesn't mean you're safe. They know what you are, and they're waiting, not to kill you, but to change you in a different way." Different how? That's the question that's been sitting on my chest all day. What's worse than being turned into one of them? Being needed by them. I don't want to be their experiment. I don't want to be their bridge to the next stage. I just want to survive long enough to be human again, whatever that means now. I picked up a signal fragment from northern Arizona. Man named Cole, hiding in an abandoned observatory. He said, "They've started blocking mirrors. I don't mean avoiding them. I mean physically blocking them, putting blankets over them, smearing blood on the glass. Anything to stop you from seeing the truth. So if you've got one, guard it, hang it up, watch it. It'll show you what they don't want you to see." He also said, "The stars don't look right anymore." Not sure what that means. Maybe just sky distortion. Maybe something more. Another report out of Tennessee. Woman said she's been recording the infected. Not just video, audio. Said they speak in layered voices when no one's watching. One on top of another. Male and female, old and young. Like every person they've consumed is still talking inside them. And sometimes the voices argue. She said, "I played a clip back in the room and one of them collapsed. Just dropped to the ground and covered its ears. I don't think they like hearing what they used to be. If you're recording, maybe try it. Just be ready for what happens after." I want to give you a list. Things people say have worked. Nothing proven. Nothing guaranteed. But this isn't a world of guarantees anymore. Ash. Cold ash spread in doorways seems to confuse them. Maybe it dulls scent. Maybe it holds something old they fear. Iron. Old-fashioned tools. Rail spikes, fireplace pokers, even horseshoes seem to make them hesitate. Some say it has to be iron that's remembered pain, whatever that means. Names. Real ones. Full ones. Speak them often. Not theirs. Yours. Your name is the last thing they can't mimic. Hold it close. Water with basil or thyme. Don't ask me why. People are mixing herbs now, testing anything. But some say it stops the dreams. I've got a man on the line from somewhere outside Toledo. He's using a hand-cranked radio, so I only catch bursts. His name is Reggie. He sounds calm. Too calm, but not in the way they do. He said, "I'm a nurse. I've seen things in the last 10 days that would make a preacher walk into fire. But here's the truth. They bleed. Not like us, but they bleed. And when they do, it burns the ground. I think their blood's not just fluid, it's memory. Every drop carries what they were, and if you get too close, it wants to tell you." Then the signal dropped. If that's true, we've been fighting ghosts, not just monsters. Ghosts that walk and speak and remember everything we tried to forget. You ever feel like this isn't the end of the world, just the moment it finally stopped lying? I used to think if I ever saw the end coming, I'd want to go out fast. Bright flash, nothing left. But this is slow, careful, surgical, like the world is being dismantled piece by piece. I have a piece of my old life taped to the wall, photo booth strip. Me and someone I loved. I don't even say her name anymore. I'm scared it'll draw something. But I keep the picture. Because the day I forget that smile is the day I stop trying. I'll stay on air until midnight. After that, I'll rest. Maybe. Keep breathing. Keep whispering your own name. Keep remembering what it felt like to be touched without fear. I'll be here until I can't. It's 2:31 a.m. Sky's clearer now. Stars look sharper, too sharp, like they've been cut into the dark with a razor. No moon tonight, just reflections that don't match the light around them. The wind picked up. First breeze I've felt in days. It smells like stone. I lit one of the old oil lamps, just to feel warmth that didn't come from a failing generator or the sweat sticking to my spine. It's small comfort, but it keeps the dark pushed a little further back. Something's wrong with the clocks. All of them, analog, digital, wind up. They're slowing down, not stopping, just falling behind. It's not power draw. I checked voltage. I checked wiring. Even the old wristwatch I pulled from the cabinet is dragging. It's like time itself is resisting movement. I got a signal burst earlier. Weak. Almost buried in the static. It said, "They don't live in time like we do. That's why they always arrive before you expect them. They're not fast. You're just slow." It repeated once, then vanished. I keep thinking about that. What if we're not being hunted in space, but in time? What if they've found a way to drift between the seconds, like cracks in a wall? That would explain the dreams, the visions, the voices you hear just before you turn the corner. A man outside Jackson said his daughter hasn't slept in 4 days, not because she's scared, because every time she closes her eyes, she wakes up standing somewhere else. Different room, different shoes, no memory of how she got there. He called it time skipping, says he's tied her wrist to his with a shoelace now. So at least if she vanishes, he'll vanish too. There's a kind of love in that. A brutal, desperate kind. The kind this world is shaping in its own image. A woman in Raleigh sent me a message scrawled on a thermal receipt. "We've stopped saying I love you. We say I see you. It means more now. Love can be faked, but seeing someone, really seeing them, is harder to copy." She signed it. Marta, still here. Still here. That phrase keeps circling in my mind like a chant. Not safe, not fine, just here. Got a report from outside Phoenix. A group of survivors is using a cactus farm as shelter. Not for the plants, but for the soil. Said the sand's too loose for the quiet to cross silently. Every step gives them away. That's the kind of thinking that keeps people alive now. Tactical dirt, sound traps, mirrors that aren't decoration anymore. A man in Grand Forks said he tied old bells to fishing line across the entryways. Said it's not perfect, but it gives him warning. And every warning is one more breath, one more second. I had a nightmare just now. I was on the air, just like now, talking. Except every voice on the frequency was mine, all slightly different. One wept while it spoke. Another laughed at every word. One just repeated, "This is not your mouth," again and again until I woke up choking. But I'm still here, still speaking, still mine. I want to talk about the idea of immunity. Some people think it's genetic. Some think it's chemical. A side effect of past exposure or medications long since expired. But what if it's psychological? What if the immune aren't physically different, but spiritually stubborn? People who refuse the lie. People who see the trap and step around it. Not because they're smarter, but because they remember pain. Pain keeps you anchored. I think that's why I haven't changed, because I've never stopped hurting. There's strength in that, a bitter kind. Not the kind they show in movies. The real kind. The kind that cries quietly in the corner and then gets up anyway. Keep your mirrors sharp. Keep your coffee cold. Keep your name. Next update comes at dawn. If the clocks let it, and if I'm wrong about all of this, then I'll still be wrong in a way that kept someone alive. That's worth it. It's 5:07 a.m. The sky hasn't changed yet, but something's easing in the dark, like the world's holding its breath before it remembers how to wake up. The clocks are still off, 2 minutes behind now. Maybe more. I've stopped checking. Time's a suggestion at this point. I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. There's still food, cans, rations, but hunger feels different now. Not urgent, not even dull, just optional, like my body's saving its energy for something worse. The air smells metallic again. Not blood. Not exactly. Just that taste you get before a storm, when the clouds aren't here yet, but something's already wrong above you. I found a short note jammed in the side of the radio console. It's not mine. I didn't put it there. Didn't write it. It says, "You're not broadcasting. You're remembering. None of this is live." That shook me. I've been reading it over and over, trying to make sense of it, trying to prove it wrong. I turned every dial, checked the transmitter logs, listened to my own delay line. The signal's real. I'm real. This is live. Right? Right? I'm going to push that thought aside. Not because it's not terrifying, but because if I think about it too long, I'll stop talking. And silence is a door I don't want to open. I got a message from a woman named May in New Brunswick. She lives by the water, still has a boat. Small, wooden, slow. She's been ferrying people across in the night. No lights, no engines, just the sound of oars. She said, they don't like tides. Something about the rhythm. The pull. I think it's because it reminds them they're not the only thing the world still answers to. She keeps a journal of names. Everyone she's moved. She reads them out loud before every trip, like a prayer. Some names: Jorge, Camira, Little Edie, Marcus, Yui, Tully, Asher. None of them came back wrong. She says she'll keep rowing until the boat breaks or the sea swallows her. That's the kind of person this world needs now. Not heroes. Ferrymen. I've been thinking about windows. We used to look through them to see the world. Now we board them up, block them, fear what's behind the glass. But sometimes, late at night, I uncover one, just for a minute, and I look, because I want to remember what open felt like. Not safe, just open. I think that's important. Let me give you a trick I learned from an old survivor out of Albuquerque. He called it the coin test. He said, drop a coin on the floor before you go to sleep. If it's moved when you wake up, but there's no footprints, don't breathe deep. Something passed through that didn't need to touch the ground. I laughed when I heard it. Then I did it. And one morning, I woke up, and the coin was on the radio dial, exactly centered. I haven't laughed since. A man outside Little Rock says they've begun copying tattoos. Let that sink in. They're not just mimicking faces now. They're copying scars, article imperfections. They're studying. But they never get the ink quite right. It bleeds at the edges, doesn't heal. If you're using tattoos as ID, be careful. Inspect closely. Look for the skin. Real skin scars. Fake ones don't. Another thing, they've started making noises they think we expect. Not voices, backgrounds, wind, music. Footsteps upstairs. A woman in Fargo said she heard her baby crying through the monitor, but her baby was asleep beside her. What came through the speaker was just the idea of crying, like a recording of someone who didn't know what pain sounded like but tried anyway. I don't know how long I can keep this up. Not the talking, the being. Every hour, something else slips. A word, a memory, a feeling. And every day, I wonder if I'll notice the moment I stop being me, or if I already did. You know what keeps me here? A voice I haven't heard in months. Used to call every Thursday, never said much. Just still with you, still listening. That's it. Sometimes, that's everything. Next update will be just after 7. If nothing breaks, if I don't, if you're there, say your name out loud when I go off air. Say it like it matters. Because it does. It's 7:14 a.m. Something's wrong with the sunrise. It came too fast. Or maybe I blinked and missed the part in between. 1 minute it was night, deep, empty, humming. And the next, the treetops were gold and burning. But it's not warm. The light feels cold, like it's being reflected off something above the clouds. Not the sun, not the one I remember. Maybe that's just sleep deprivation talking. Maybe. I've started counting the times I hear my name. Not out loud, just in the air. This morning, 3. Once when I twisted the radio dial. Once when I poured water into the kettle. Once when I closed the cabinet where I keep the maps. Each time it sounded different. Same word, same cadence, different tone, like someone imitating an echo of an imitation. And each time it felt a little closer. The water boiled wrong today, made a sound like it was breathing. I let it cool before drinking, just in case. I picked up a note from an old lighthouse off the coast of Oregon, handwritten on a message buoy. We shine light because we're afraid of what happens when nothing sees us. That's all lighthouses are. Fear turned into a job. The person didn't sign their name, just a line. Still rotating. Still rotating. I like that. Not okay, not safe. Just still turning. Still trying. I want to log some strange reports now. Maybe nonsense. Maybe patterns. Near Detroit, a man says he saw something climb inside a billboard, said the metal bent in reverse and swallowed it. When he looked again, the ad had changed. His face was on it, smiling. The words said, "Come home." Outside Boise. 3 separate reports of voices coming from cornfields, all singing the same hymn. Different counties, same tune. The hymn doesn't exist in any known record. Miami. Someone claims the infected don't leave footprints in wet cement, but they leave memories. One woman stepped into a spot where one had walked and suddenly remembered a childhood that wasn't hers. What do you even do with that? I can't tell anymore what's physical and what's influence, infection by suggestion, parasites in the signal. But here's what I do know. You can still choose to act, even if the world doesn't make sense, even if your memories shift, even if you wake up not knowing who you are. You can still decide not to hurt someone else. That's how we win. Not with guns, not with fire, not with purity, with choice, even if it's the last one you make. I got a brief pulse from the old emergency broadcast net. Not a voice, just a code. Series 7, repeater 4. That used to mean group safe, minimal exposure, no outbound threats. It was followed by silence. And then a whisper. We made it to the water, but it doesn't forgive. I don't know what that means, but I wrote it down anyway. Somewhere in Montana, a man's building towers out of scrap. Not to transmit, to reflect. He says he's aiming mirrors at the sky, not to see, but to show, to force the thing looking down to see itself. He said, "It's not just under us. It's over us. Something old. Something that wants to be known, but not named." I don't know whether to call that man a prophet or a lunatic. But I hope his mirrors hold. We need something to show them what they are. Because maybe they forgot, or maybe they remember too well. I'm not ready to stop yet. There's more to tell, more to list, more names to remember. If you're awake now, say your name. Say someone else's. Say the name of someone you lost, someone you swore to protect, someone you couldn't. Names matter. Even when the world forgets, the names stay. Until they're spoken again. I'll return before noon. If this place is still here, if I'm still me, keep turning, keep breathing. Keep your eyes away from mirrors, unless you're ready to see everything. It's 11:52 a.m. Heat's back in full. The fan's running but pushing warm air. The thermometer cracked this morning. Just split clean down the middle like it had enough. I stuck a knife in the windowsill. Blade bent a little. That's how hot it is. Something new happened. I heard a voice I trusted. Not a mimic. Not a trick. My voice. From the hallway. It said, "You dropped this." Just like that. Casual. Like an old friend reminding you not to forget your wallet. Except I hadn't dropped anything. I didn't open the door. Didn't move. Just sat there with the radio mic in my hand, breathing slow, trying not to blink. After 2 minutes, I looked through the peephole. There was a folded jacket on the floor. My jacket. One I burned last week in the fire barrel behind the station. The hole in the pocket, the one from the nail snag, that was still there. So either something pulled it from ash and memory, or it never burned. That's when I started hearing the crying again. Not from outside. From the vents. Small. Rhythmic. Not a scream. Not a sob. Just the kind of quiet crying that makes you check your pockets for guilt. I closed the vent with a piece of steel mesh and didn't speak for an hour. I needed that hour to remind myself I'm still allowed to say no, to doubt the noise, to resist the story they want me to believe. I got a call from a woman named Sarah in Ontario. Said she hasn't seen another human in 11 days. Not a real one. Just flashes. Faces in glass, voices in pipes, notes in her handwriting she never wrote. She keeps a chalkboard in her shelter. Every day, she writes, "If you see this message and it wasn't you who wrote it, leave." So far, it's always been her handwriting. But today it was a different color chalk. She only owns one. I don't know what kind of courage that takes. Waking up, writing your own warning, knowing it might not be your hand next time, but doing it anyway. I hope she keeps writing. Someone in San Antonio built a rig from an old ham tower, wiring it to motion sensors. When something passes by the outer perimeter, it triggers a looped broadcast. You are not welcome here. You are not yourself. We have mirrors, and we remember. He says it's worked twice. Scared something off. Says they can't stand being told what they are. So say it if you see one. Say it plain. You are not him. You are not her. You are not what you pretend to be. If nothing else, it buys time. Someone needs to talk about what happened in Colorado. I picked up a strange frequency last night, buried under normal chatter. Digital, fragmented, like a burst transmission from a broken AI. It said, "Denver breached, turned inward, mirror test failed, subject Omega unstable, no further movement advised." No idea what subject Omega is, but when I matched the timestamp with my logs, it coincided with the moment I felt that spike behind my eyes, the ringing. So maybe something broke loose, or woke up, or maybe the signal itself is the thing. A virus of sound, of speech. I think about that a lot. The idea that words can infect, not just influence, but actually rewire, like how a song can make you cry without permission, or how hearing your name in the dark can make you move before you think. Maybe that's what this is, a war of signals, a war of language. Whoever controls the voice, controls the mind. So this radio, this is resistance. Even if all I'm doing is talking, talking matters. Got another survivor check-in. Name, Dominic. Somewhere in Utah. Said he's built a circle of speakers around an old barn, all playing white noise. Says they don't like it. Not because it hurts, because it confuses them. Like static makes them forget who they're trying to be. He sleeps in the middle of that circle. Every night, he dreams of snow. He's never seen snow. There's something beautiful in that. Memory of something you've never had. Protecting you from the thing that wants to take everything. If you're listening to this, you're part of the noise now. Part of the signal that says, we're still human. Even if we're scared, even if we're broken, even if we don't know who we are anymore. I'll be back around 2:30, if the heat doesn't take the generator. Until then, drink water, say your name, and don't trust the knock, no matter how polite it sounds. It's 2:42 p.m. The power's flickering. Had to swap out the fuel cell with the backup unit I was saving for August. We might not make it that far, so I figured, use it now, while there's still something to power, something worth powering. The sound outside's changed. No birds, no bugs, not even wind anymore. It's like everything that used to make background noise just shut down. You don't realize how much life hums under the world until it stops. Now it's just silence and the occasional thud, like something heavy setting down in soft dirt. There's ash in the air again. Not from fire. There's no smoke. But the ash falls anyway. I caught a flake on my tongue this morning. It tasted like paper. Dry, burnt ink. And then, for a second, I remembered reading a bedtime story my mother never told me. Except I don't think she ever did. I think it was theirs, their memory, not mine. So I drank salt water to purge it. Don't recommend it. But it worked. Got a garbled call from somewhere along the Appalachian Trail. Woman using a crank radio. Said she hikes during the day and digs into the dirt at night, burying herself like a badger to sleep. Says they don't like the soil up high. Too much rock. Not enough resonance. I asked her how she knows they're near. She said, they hum when they're full. You can't hear it at first, but the ground can. She says her dog barks at the dirt now, not the trees. If you're along that route, start listening to the ground. The old ones used to do that. Maybe they were right. Got a story I've been sitting on. Wasn't sure if I should share it. But something's telling me to. A man named Everett from Flagstaff. He called weeks ago. Told me his wife had been taken. Not killed. Taken. She came back. Not broken. Not angry. Just changed. She smiled too wide. Said too little. Her eyes didn't blink unless he blinked first. But she knew everything. Every memory. Every private moment. Right down to the stories they never told anyone. He kept her anyway. He wanted to believe love could hold her tethered. 3 nights ago, he called again. He sounded older. Like something cracked inside and didn't bother to heal. He said, she's pregnant. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. I asked him if he thought it was his. He said, I don't think it matters anymore. Then he hung up. I haven't heard from him since. So if you're in Arizona and you hear a man sobbing through a steel door, don't open it. Not unless you're ready to see something new, something born from memory and mimicry and the last thread of love. I don't know what's coming, but I think it's evolving. Not just surviving, adapting. Be careful with your grief. It's the easiest door to pick. I got a recording in the Dropbox. Someone singing in reverse. I played it backwards. Slow. It was, "You are my sunshine." But every line had a wrong word. Like, "You make me hollow when skies are gray." I turned it off before the end. Because the last note didn't sound like a voice. It sounded like a throat splitting open, and then sealing itself again. Let me give you something good. There's a group in northern Wisconsin using solar mirrors to cook food. They're not hoarding. They're sharing. People take turns. Bring whatever they find. One person sings while the food warms. Always the same song. Just hums. But it's steady. And when they sing, nothing comes near. Not sure why. Maybe they just sound too alive. That gives me hope. Not the food, not the tech. The song. We need more of that. Songs that keep the monsters away, even if we don't know the words. I'm going to go now and cool down the generator. I'll check back in around 5. If you're still listening and your voice is still your own, sing. Even if no one hears it. Even if it's off-key. Sing something only you remember. It might just save your life. It's 5:06 p.m. The temperature's back up. The walls are sweating. So am I. I've got a rag tied around my neck to keep from overheating, but it's soaked. Smells like old copper and lemon oil. No idea why. Probably from the barrel I washed it in. There's a new sound outside. It's not them. Not like before. This is bigger. Like someone dragging a metal gate across gravel. It echoes through the hills like it's coming from inside the ground, not on top of it. It starts, then stops. Same rhythm. Like a breath. In. Outside. I think something bigger is moving now. Not just individuals. Not scouts. Something old. Something wide. I heard from someone in southern Illinois. They're living in an abandoned church. Said the bell tower broke last week, split clean down the center. The bell fell, cracked, didn't ring. But that night, everyone in the group heard it in their sleep. Clear as day. And they all woke up, holding their shoes. No one knows why. Maybe just a shared dream. Or maybe something deeper. Some signal buried in the metal itself. One guy said he swore the bell was speaking. He said, "It said we're not running out of time. We're leaking it." I don't know what that means, but I've started checking my own clocks again. Still slow, still slipping, still wrong. A woman in Montana, name's Jules. She left me a message written in ash on her window. They eat light. They don't need blood. They take the part of you that knows how to see. She wears sunglasses now, even inside. Not to protect, to keep what vision she has. She says they can't mimic blindness. They don't know what it means to lack something, only how to copy it. So if you see one acting blind, walk away. It's pretending. Got another strange one from the Carolinas. A man living off shortwave says his crops grew overnight. Nothing but dry dirt yesterday. Today, corn stalks 6 feet tall. No seeds, no water, just sprouted. He tasted one kernel. Said it bled. Says he hasn't slept since. Keep your food tested. Smell it. Boil it. Burn it if it twitches. The infection doesn't need hosts anymore. It's spreading into memory, into dirt, into story. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. They don't just change bodies. They change meaning. Got a package here I haven't opened. Came from the emergency drop outside the perimeter. Wrapped in twine. No address. Just one word on the side. Listen. I'll open it tonight. When it's quieter. When the air isn't so thick with heat and whatever else is coming through it. I need to talk to someone in Idaho. Her name is Kat. She left a message on 31.6 megahertz. Said she has a recording of one of them speaking before it changed fully. She said it was crying, not for help, for permission. That stopped me cold. They don't just take us, they ask. In some way, on some level. And we say yes. Maybe without knowing. Maybe in a dream. Maybe when we give up. So don't give up. Not even once. Not even silently. Because maybe that's the moment they slip in. I still have a few batteries left. One old flashlight with a half-broken lens. A piece of copper pipe I keep beside the door. And this transmitter. And the stubborn part of me that refuses to die in the dark. I'll be back by sundown. Don't leave your name unwatched. Don't follow the sound unless you know it's yours. And if the heat gets too much, breathe slow. Chew salt. Rest your spine on something cold. Your body is still yours. And it still wants to live. It's 7:59 p.m. or sundown. But it didn't get dark Not really. The sun dropped, sure, but there's still a glow across the treetops. Not moonlight, not fire. Something else. Something too white, too still. Like a hospital hallway before the power cuts. I haven't opened that package yet. I want to. But every time I touch the string, I hear whispering inside my mouth. Not around me. Inside. Like a memory forming that I didn't earn. So it sits on the table. Wrapped. Waiting. I don't know who sent it. But I know they knew I'd hesitate. Got a broken call from Utah. A man who introduced himself only as Walker. He's old. Maybe 70. Says he was a miner back in the day. Said he's gone back underground now. But not to hide, to map. He's been walking through abandoned shafts with a red chalk pencil and leaving markings where the walls breathe. Says some tunnels feel warm, some echo. Some swallow the echo and don't give it back. He marks those with an X and keeps walking. Last night he found something. A space that wasn't there before. No airflow, no rockfall. Just a hole in the wall where nothing should have been. He tossed a rock in. Never heard it land. He drew a skull beside that one. Then he turned around. If you're underground, watch for changes that don't belong to time. Watch for places that feel curious. Got another signal from near Boston. It wasn't in English, didn't sound human. But underneath the static, I recognized the cadence, the way a priest might speak at a funeral. Low, final, rhythmic. Someone's still praying in whatever language came before ours. I hope it works. A woman in Saskatchewan sent a list of new rules. She carved them into plywood and nailed it to a grain silo. Here's what it said. Don't whisper. They love secrets. Don't sleep where you cried. If the light flickers red, leave. No questions. Never chase your name if you hear it running. Sing into the dark, even if it sings back. I read that last one 5 times. Still not sure if it's hope or a trap. Maybe both. Still haven't opened the package. Instead, I lit a candle. One of the last ones. Smells like pine and something synthetic. It's not the flame that comforts me. It's the fact that it flickers. Things that flicker are still alive. A man from New Mexico, Benji, I think, left a note by carrier pigeon. Yeah, real pigeon. Feathered, tired, and terrified of everything. His message said, they're scared of some music, not all. Just old sad stuff. The kind that sounds like someone remembering what they lost. I played a scratched Johnny Cash record, and they backed away like the needle was a blade. I believe him. I found a warped cassette of Leonard Cohen yesterday. Been afraid to play it. Not because I think it won't work. Because I think it might. And then what? I'm not ready for the sound of hope turning into a weapon. But maybe that's what we need. Something old. Worn, human. Used not to hurt, but to remind. I'll sign off for now. Not because I'm afraid. Because I need to think. To feel for a moment. I'll be back before midnight. And maybe then I'll open the package. Maybe. But if I don't, know this. I still have a voice. And if you can hear it, so do you. Stay sharp, stay strange. And don't answer the knock unless it asks who you used to be. It's 11:34 p.m. The candle's gone out. Wick burned straight to the base and left a coil of smoke curling against the ceiling like it had somewhere else to be. I opened the package. It wasn't what I expected. Inside, 3 things. A mirror, cracked down the middle. A cassette tape labeled, "Play this when you stop believing." And a scrap of denim soaked in something that smells like rosemary and rust. I haven't played the tape yet. I want to save that for when I really start to forget what's real. But the mirror, when I looked at it, something was wrong. My reflection blinked before I did, just once. Then it stayed frozen. No movement, no breath. I covered it back up and slid it behind the filing cabinet. It's still back there. I can feel it looking through the wall. I got a burst call from near Tulsa. Woman named Riva. Said she's been keeping track of them using scent. Said they leave behind a smell that isn't rot, but absence. Like walking into a room where someone used to live, and all that's left is the shadow of what they felt. She said, "I know they're near when I can't remember what the room was for." That hit me hard. Because sometimes I walk through this station and forget why certain doors were ever opened, or why I never close others. Reva says she carries a pouch of coffee grounds and soil. When she forgets where she is, she opens it. The smell brings her back. We all need a totem now, something that calls us back to ourselves. Mine is this mic. I talk, I exist. I go silent. I vanish. A man in Nevada wired a bunch of discarded phones together into a battery-powered speaker loop. Plays a recording of his own laughter on repeat. Not manic, not joyful. Just a single chuckle. Over and over. He says it's not to scare them away. It's to distract the version of him they built. Says it's out there, walking, trying to remember how he sounded. But it always gets the laugh wrong. That's the flaw. You can copy the face, even the voice, but the timing, the human rhythm of breath between thought, that's the tell. If someone you know speaks too clean, like they're reading from memory, ask them to laugh and listen for the silence before it hits. I want to tell you what I remember before I forget. My first bike was yellow. It squeaked when I turned left. My sister once made me tea with salt instead of sugar, and I drank it anyway because her hands were shaking. The last time I saw my dad, he asked me if I still dreamed in color. I didn't have an answer. These are the things they can't take, unless I stop saying them, unless I give them up willingly. Don't give up your memories. Don't offer them, even in grief, even in guilt. They are not yours to share. They are you. I'm keeping the tape for tomorrow. I'll play it when I need to remember how far I've come, or when I need to know how much I've lost. Either way, thank you for being here, for listening, for remembering. I'll be back just after dawn, assuming the mirror doesn't blink again, or maybe even if it does. Because if it does, maybe it's afraid of me too. Maybe it should be. Stay alive, stay unrepeatable, and if the night offers you a softer version of yourself, don't take it. You earned your edges. It's 4:12 a.m. and the heat hasn't let up. If anything, it feels like it's gotten worse. Heavier, somehow. Like the air's been draped in a thick wool blanket soaked in sweat and tension. It presses down on the chest, makes every breath feel just a little more expensive. The kind of weather that peels the skin off old paint, makes the floorboards creak in protest, like they're trying to rise up and leave. I haven't slept. Don't remember when I last did. Not because I don't want to, because the dark behind my eyes has started whispering in languages I don't understand. I close them, and I hear footsteps. Not outside, not in the hallway, inside my own head. Measured, calm, like something pacing in a circle, waiting for the moment I stop paying attention. I haven't played the tape yet. I've moved it 3 times. Once to the drawer under the desk, once to the windowsill, once back into the box. It hums now, low and quiet. You wouldn't notice unless you knew how silence is supposed to sound. It's not music, not words, just a pulse, like a breath from someone who hasn't spoken in years. I think the tape wants to be played, not in a way that begs, in a way that expects. That scares me more than any knock on the door. Because if a thing made of plastic and magnetized ribbon can expect something, what else can? There's a new development from the border zones, heard from a man calling himself Dust. He's holed up near the edges of old Interstate 35, close to where Texas used to hum. Said they're building something now, tall and smooth and wrong. No tools, no sound of work. It just grows. Smooth black walls that shimmer slightly, like oil on water, but don't reflect anything real. If you stand in front of it, it doesn't mirror your image. It shows a version of you from about 5 seconds ago, always slightly off. Dust said he stood there once for 10 full minutes, staring at himself, staring back. Then his reflection smiled. He didn't. That was 3 days ago. Now he won't look at his own hands, says they twitch on their own when he's not watching. I asked him what the structure is for. He said, containment, I think. Or conversion. Either we go in, or it comes out. He's not sure which would be worse. There's talk among his group that these things, these vampires, or whatever they were, aren't working alone anymore. That there's something above them. Something that doesn't move through shadows or drain you dry. Something that watches. Not because it's hunting, but because it's cataloging. Like this is all part of an experiment that never ended. Another signal came through from British Columbia. Woman named Lacey. She sounded exhausted, but clear. Said she's been living in a fire tower alone since the first breach. No power, no plumbing, just altitude and stubbornness. She keeps a hand crank radio and a flare gun. She said she started talking to the stars. Not in a poetic way, in a specific way. She said they change when you call them by name, that they flicker different. She reads them lines from old books, poetry, instruction manuals, obituaries. Doesn't matter what. What matters is the pattern. She said the sky listens more than the earth ever did. When I asked her what she wants from the stars, she said, to remember me the right way. I think about that a lot. About how much of this whole mess might just be about memory. Theirs, ours. What gets passed forward and what gets erased. It's easy to forget what kind of world we used to live in before the lights dimmed and the shapes started moving wrong. I used to take hot showers for granted. The smell of fresh bread. The click of a lock meaning safety, not the beginning of a countdown. Now, every familiar sound feels like a trap in disguise. I can't even enjoy my own voice anymore without wondering if it's being copied, tucked away somewhere, worn like a mask by something waiting for me to trust again. But here's the thing. I'm still here. You're still listening. And that means something still works. The signal's not clean. The words come slow sometimes. But the message makes it through. That's more than most systems can say right now. They collapsed under their own weight. Satellites falling like stones. News networks coughing out their last headlines like death rattles. Emergency services repeating dead loops into the void. But this old transmitter, this stubborn microphone, this cracked voice, it's still moving. And maybe that's what they don't understand. Maybe that's what they can't copy. The refusal, the grit in the throat, The sheer dumb instinct to keep talking when silence would be easier. You can't fake that. You can try to imitate it, sure. You can line up the syllables, match the breath, even get the pitch right. But you can't replicate the ache behind a word spoken, just to make sure someone out there knows they're not the last one left. So if you're awake, if you're sweating in the dark like me, if the walls around you are breathing or whispering or pulsing with something you don't want to name, just know you're not alone. I'm with you. I hear it too. And I'm going to keep broadcasting. Not because I think I'll make it through, but because maybe, just maybe, you will. Next report comes when the moon hits its highest. If the tower doesn't fall, if the generator doesn't sigh its last breath. Until then, hold fast. Don't trust your reflection. And if the package arrives, check for breath marks on the paper. They've started breathing like us now. It's 12:21 a.m. The moon's directly overhead, and the air hasn't moved in hours. Not a whisper of wind, not even the creak of this building settling. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something to finish dying before it exhales. The temperature hasn't dropped below 100 in 3 days. I've started wetting old shirts and hanging them from the rafters just to cool the air around the transmitter. The water steams before it can drip. I think it's messing with people, not just physically, mentally. The heat. I've been getting more erratic messages, jumbled speech, looping transmissions, people repeating themselves like their memory is buffering. One guy kept calling his own name like he was trying to remind himself he was real. I understand it. I've been saying mine under my breath more often too. Not to be dramatic, just to anchor myself, just to stop the slide. I won't say it here. Doesn't feel right. I gave that up when the first tower went dark. But I remember it. And that still matters. Someone sent me a message etched into tin, scratched it in by hand, every letter shallow and uneven. It took me 20 minutes to read because the light was failing. It said, "They learn from us. That's the mistake we made. We thought they just copied. But no, they adapt. You flinch, they blink. You pray, they fold their hands. You cry, they hold a photo of someone they never met. And when you finally break, they wear your grief like it's theirs." I held that piece of metal for a long time after reading it. Not because I was scared, but because I think I'd already started seeing it happen. I had a mirror near the entrance. Used to use it to check if anything about me looked off before going outside. But last night, I saw something in it. My own face, but too calm, too still. My eyes were smiling when I wasn't. I covered it with a towel. I nailed the towel to the wall. I haven't looked since. I got another report from a kid in Kansas. He's 15, calls himself Z. That's all. Said he's been living in a barn with solar lights and a wind-up music box he found in his sister's room. He keeps playing the same lullaby every night, over and over. He says they don't like it, not because it's loud, because it makes them hesitate. Just for a second. He thinks it reminds them of something, not something human, just something before the hunger. He said, "They can't stand still when they feel sad. I think sadness is the one thing they can't wear." That hit me harder than I expected. He's not wrong. Grief, they know. Grief is heavy, full of form. It's easy to wrap yourself in. But sadness, that empty, vague ache with no shape, they can't balance it. There's nothing to mimic, nothing to copy. It's too personal. Z says he sleeps with the music box wound under his pillow. He says the song keeps the real part of him inside while the outside world tries to peel it away. If you're out there, Z, keep winding that thing. And if it ever breaks, hum the tune until your throat gives out. We're going to start needing more than shelter and fire. We need anchors, something that holds us in place when the world pulls. And make no mistake, it is pulling. I got a broken voice message tonight from what's left of Minneapolis. A woman said she watched her neighbors disappear not with screams, not with blood, but with agreement. They walked into a house that wasn't there the day before. A gray door, a door with no hinges, and she swears they weren't scared. She said, "It looked like forgiveness. That's what scared me." I don't know what they're offering people behind those doors, but whatever it is, it's convincing enough that no one has come back out, and no one's knocking to be let in. They just vanish. There's something else. I've been hearing static even when the radio's off. Not full volume. Just a gentle hiss in my left ear. It rises when I talk about hope. Drops when I admit fear. I've started using it as a compass, which probably means I'm losing it. But maybe not. Maybe it's real. Maybe they've found a way into signal, into frequency. Maybe they live in the band between what we mean and what we actually say. That would explain why people keep vanishing mid-sentence, like their words got hijacked before the rest of them could follow. I'm tired. The kind of tired that doesn't sleep. The kind that just keeps cycling. But I'm still here, still speaking, still holding this mic like it means something. And if you're hearing this, then something still does. I'll try again at 3. If the walls haven't moved. If my reflection doesn't start talking before I do. Until then, hold your breath when you pass a mirror. Breathe deep when you hear your own voice. And if a stranger speaks to you with your exact smile, ask them to hum a tune they never learned. If they hesitate, run. It's 3:17 a.m. The wind just came back, or something pretending to be wind. It's thin and sharp and smells like metal left out in the sun too long. My skin prickled when it touched me, like I was being read. Not seen. Read. Like every inch of me was a paragraph, and something out there was scanning for keywords. I don't think we're dealing with the same thing anymore. Whatever this started as, feeding, infecting, mimicking, it's not just that now. It's grown, shifted. The shape of it is different. Less hungry, more curious, less a predator, more a scientist with a knife and a prayer. I got a message written in chalk on a vinyl record. No idea how they managed that, but it worked. The chalk dug in between the grooves, spelling out a single sentence in a shaky spiral. They're learning from how we break. I stared at that record for a long time. Didn't dare play it, not because I was scared of the music, but because I think the needle would scream. Not skip, scream. Like the turntable itself would remember a sound it was never built to handle. We've always thought of monsters as things with fangs and claws. But this is different. This is a mirror that tilts just enough to make you look twice. A voice that almost says what you were about to say. A gesture that copies your grief before you even know you're grieving. There's something ancient happening. Not in age, but in design. Like the rules are older than memory, and we're just rediscovering the parts we forgot we agreed to. Someone from the ruins of Santa Fe sent me a sketch. It arrived folded in quarters, wrapped in foil. A drawing of a shape I've never seen before. Not a creature, not a structure, just a presence. Lines that spiraled inward but never touched. At the bottom it read, This is what they call God, a thing that looks like nothing, but still feels like worship. I didn't know what to do with that. Still don't. I burned the drawing, but the image is still stuck in my head, clear as a billboard. Every time I close my eyes, I see that impossible curve, and I hear whispering like wind moving backward through pine needles. I think some of us are starting to understand too much. That's dangerous. Understanding is a door, and not every door leads out. Someone from Des Moines left a box of teeth on my supply drop pad. All human, all marked with black ink numbers like library checkouts. No note, no message, just that box. I counted them, 52, one for every week in the year. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them. Maybe nothing. Maybe they're just a calendar now. Or maybe someone's been keeping track of how many weeks they've gone unnoticed. Still haven't played the cassette. Still hear it vibrating inside the box like it's waiting for my worst day. And it's getting close. The batteries are low again. Food's fine for now. But the canned goods are sweating, and I don't trust the seal on the peaches. Last time I opened a can, and the syrup hissed back at me. I poured it down the drain. The sink has been gurgling ever since. Someone told me once that every place you've ever lived remembers a little piece of you, not just through wear and dust, but in pattern. Your footsteps, the weight of your breath in a hallway, your timing. That means this radio station remembers me. I just hope it remembers the right version. I heard a lullaby tonight, not from a person, from the trees. The wind passed through them in a way that made melody. Software off-key, familiar. I think it was, "You Are My Sunshine," but slower, sadder, as if it wasn't being sung, but remembered by something that couldn't sing anymore. That's the worst part of all this. Not the violence, not the silence, but the remembering. The way this world keeps trying to echo what it lost. And every echo comes back wrong, twisted, like someone trying to draw from memory with their non-dominant hand. It's not evil. It's close. Close enough to hurt. I'm going to sleep for an hour, maybe less. I'll be back before sunrise, unless the wind comes in through the wall. If it does, I'll follow it just long enough to name it. And then I'll come back. I will come back, because someone has to remember how we used to sound. It's 5:41 a.m. Didn't sleep. I closed my eyes for a bit, but the air turned heavy, like it was pressing me into the floorboards, and then I heard a second breath beside mine. Not overlapping. Not mine. Just close enough to make me doubt I was still alone. I didn't move. Just listened. Counted. Waited. It never changed. Perfect inhale. Perfect exhale. Matching my rhythm exactly. And then when I sat up, I felt the air pull back like something disappointed. That's what it's doing now. Studying us. Not hunting. Not even mocking. Just studying. That's scarier in its own way. I'm still here, still broadcasting. The mic was warm when I picked it up, like someone else had been holding it. But that's probably just the heat. Or maybe I've started imagining hands everywhere. The walls here sweat like skin now. They make little popping sounds when the sun hits them, like blisters. Got a message through static from the edge of New Orleans. The person didn't give a name. Just called in to say they've started building homes. I asked what they meant. The caller didn't answer. Just sent a picture of a block of houses, rows and rows, all identical. Same porch, same curtains, same empty bird cages hanging from each window, swinging in wind that wasn't blowing. They're not old houses. These were built recently. Too fast, too clean, and no tracks, no tools. Just there, like they grew overnight. The caller said they walked past one house at sunset, heard a baby crying inside. They knocked. The crying stopped instantly. Then the door opened without a sound. Inside was themself. Same clothes, same haircut, same limp in the left foot. But the other version smiled too long, then said something the real one hadn't told anyone in years. That was when they ran. If you see a neighborhood that wasn't there the day before, leave. Immediately. Don't even look too long. Those places aren't built for us. They're made from memory, from our own shapes, carved out of recognition like a glove fitted for your shadow. There's a shift in the air this morning, like the rules changed again while we were sleeping. What worked yesterday might not hold today. The scent repellents people were using, the garlic, the ash, the salt, they're fading. I've gotten 3 reports of people using all of the above, still disappearing. One woman wrote on the side of an overturned van, "They started asking questions. That's how I knew they were different. They wanted to understand my fear." This isn't infection anymore. It's communion. Some of them want to talk, but not with words, not out loud. They do it in fragments, dreams, heat stroke hallucinations, and people are starting to listen. That's how it spreads now. You let it in when you respond, even silently, even inside. If your thoughts don't feel like your own, ask yourself something small, personal, petty, a memory no one else would ever care about. The name of your childhood stuffed animal, the color of your first toothbrush. If the answer comes too fast, too clean, it might not be you answering. I've been doing that more often lately, just to check. I say, what did the floor smell like when I was sick that summer? And if I can't remember the answer right away, I wait until I can. That smell, lemon cleaner and cheap wool, the carpet my mother said we'd replace but never did. That's how I know I'm still me. You need a question only you can answer. Write it down. Keep it close. That's your anchor. If they ever get close enough to whisper, you'll need to ask fast. Because they don't take your body first. They take your timing, your pauses, your inflections, the rhythm of how you remember pain. That's what they wear first. And by the time they put on your face, you've already agreed to leave it behind. I'll be back around 8, unless I forget where the door is again. But even then, I'll find it, because I wrote something in the dust by the exit, something only I would write. A question no one else would care enough to answer. And if that message is ever gone, well, then maybe I am too. But not today. It's 8:03 a.m. The sun's up again, but the color's wrong. Everything looks sepia-toned, like a memory from someone else's childhood. The shadows are too soft. No edges, no bite. It's the kind of light that makes you second-guess your own depth. You reach out, expecting to feel warmth, and get static instead. It hums on your skin, like you're not quite here. Like the day itself is buffering. I checked the dust by the door. The thing I wrote? Still there. Good. It means I haven't been fully replaced. Yet. But the air smells like vinegar and ozone now. Like metal left in a thunderstorm. That's new. And I don't think it's weather. It's transition. Someone from South Dakota left a journal under my drop point tarp. No name. Just 47 pages of observations, each more frantic than the last. They tracked one of the things, what they called a soft mimic, for 9 days. It never fed, never spoke, just followed at a distance, always out of focus, always slightly to the left of wherever you looked. The writer said by day 4, it had learned how to limp the same way he did. By day 7, it winced when he touched his old bullet wound. On day 9, he wrote, "I don't think it wants to be me. I think it wants me to be it." And that was the last page. No goodbye, no sign-off. Just a smear of ink, like the hand forgot how to hold the pen. I keep rereading that last line. What if they're not here to take us? What if they're here to become us? What if we're the blueprint? Every weakness, every ache, every tender little failure we try to hide. What if those are ingredients? And what if that's the appeal? They don't want our strength. They want our fragility, our unfinished thoughts, our clumsy love, the parts of us that hurt when remembered. That's what makes us real, and that's what they still don't understand. I got a new voice on the line last night. Quiet. Steady. Said her name was Lucia, broadcasting from a mountain range she didn't want to name. Said the altitude helps. Said the air's too thin up there for the mimics to get comfortable. She's got chickens, 1 goat, and a ham radio strung through the window with a coat hanger. She said, "They tried to talk to me through my goat. I laughed too hard. The goat did too. They left." She wasn't joking. She said she figured something out, something important, that they can't mimic laughter unless they understand why it happened. And that's the key. That's what makes us unrepeatable. Humor. The messy, stupid, beautiful way we laugh when we shouldn't. Lucia told a joke I won't repeat here. It was crude. It was dark. It made me laugh harder than I have in weeks. And when I laughed, I felt the walls flinch. So maybe that's our weapon. Not rage, not fear, not fire, but absurdity. The things that don't make sense. The memories that contradict themselves. The stories we tell that have no punchline and still make us smile. I think that confuses them. I think it repels them. Because they came looking for patterns. And we're not patterns. We're accidents with meaning. I'm going to start collecting laughter now. Real, broken, human laughter. Not recordings, not loops, just moments. If you have one, send it, even if it's just a scribbled joke or a dumb pun or something your sister said that made you choke on water. Send it. We'll build an archive they can't copy. A library of everything that only works once. Because that's what being alive is, isn't it? A series of one-time-only performances. And I intend to keep putting on the show. Back after noon, assuming the static doesn't start whispering punchlines back at me. If it does, I'll laugh first, and I'll laugh last.